Guys, welcome back. My name is Jay, and this is my Diecast Creations channel. Today you're going to see a Hot Wheels Gotta Go turn into a bootlegger. It's for the Gaslands UK February Car of the Month challenge. And yeah, I think I did a pretty good job. So stick around and see how this transforms into a toilet bowl to a bootlegger. So this is the car that we start off with. It's a Hot Wheels Gotta Go. I don't know if they made this as a joke or it was just supposed to be kind of a fun deal, but I know that the fender flares in the front and the shape of the casting really looked cool to me, and I felt like it fit that theme very well, besides the back half of the casting being a toilet bowl. So here we see I'm just drilling out the posts. The back one was plastic, so it kind of went pretty quick. You got to be careful when you're drilling out the plastic ones because you could really slip or go right through it and hit your hand. I haven't done that yet, knock on wood. But, you know, just got to be aware of what you're doing and make sure you take the proper precautions. Here I'm just trying to get the casting apart. Every one of these castings is a little different, the way that it links together. So you got to kind of find the plastic where it meets and just give it a little pry, you know. Usually they pop apart. This one had a link in the back that it kind of hooked in, you know. So this is the blown up view. It's the metal. The only metal on the car was the cab and the hood. And then we ended up using the whole thing, actually, besides the toilet bowl seat. We threw that out. But I threw the cab in the stripper here, and I usually let them sit overnight. I did 4 cars at once, so it just settles in, and you know, I close the lid and let it sit. So here's the blown up view out of the stripper. We ended up getting rid of the wheels, and you know, I could have went in with a pick and a Dremel and cleaned up the metal casting a little better, but being that it was a bootlegger and it's supposed to be like an old school deal, you know, muddy, running through the trails and the woods and stuff like that, I figured I'd leave the paint in the cracks that settled in there. But anyway, the casting you just saw was a chill mill. And I had used the headers off of it on another build, and it had that milk thing in the back, so I figured it was perfect for to resemble, you know, moonshine, right? And then I just cut some wheel axles there and head pins, and we decided to stretch the wheelbase a little bit and give it kind of a hot rod look, kind of a, you know, just a cooler look. You know, I needed to stretch the wheelbase like it's carrying cargo, right? And then, you know, these are just a couple mock-up shots of what it's going to look like. I decided to keep the toilet bowl part because it was solid, right? But I created these bed walls, if you want to call it. Like it was a wooden bed, you know, back in the 30s and 40s. I don't know when this car is supposed to be resembled as, but that was my my take on it, right? So then I brushed them up with burnt umber, which is an apple barrel paint, and then I dry brushed some chestnut on it, which you'll see coming up here. The wheels came off of a Hudson Hornet Cars car, the Doc, I believe is his name. So then I started stippling on chestnut. I sprayed it with a Rust-Oleum red, which is a brownish color, and then I stippled on burnt umber, chestnut, and I hit it with Rise of Rust, which is a dry brushing paint from Games Workshop. It's very thick and pasty. I just hit it with that. I did the same thing to the fender flares here, where you could see it kind of turned out really cool. The fender flares got hit with a base coat of I'm blanking on this. I should have had it right in front of me. It is Antique Parchment by Apple Barrel. And I did the same thing. I stippled on the different colors of brown, and then I broke out the typhus corrosion and started hitting a little bit here and a little bit there, just to give it that dirty look. I did a little bit on the cab there, like it dripped down from the roof or underneath, like it got some grime in there and it started to rust and came down. When you're doing Gaslands builds like this, you got to use your imagination. You could go totally out of the box and, just make the whole thing, disgusting. But I decided to be a little bit more subtle on it. And then you see how I'm just mocking up how the bed is going to line up and how the bottles are going to look in there. I decided to keep the bottles blue and not paint the toilet bowl because my girlfriend actually, spotted this, and she's like, it kind of reflects the light like it's glowing, and you can see through the bottles a little better. So that was a really good pickup on her part, and I decided to keep it that way. I did take a Sharpie and just hit the top of the caps, like bottle caps, right? So this is how it's coming together. At this point, I'm really kind of digging the way that it's looking, but I know that there's some gaps that need to be filled, like underneath the back box there is just a bare chassis, and the truck is just lacking a little bit. It's just the stock repainted. So I'm thinking about what I can do, and I started going through some things. These are the sticks that I used. They're just from the dollar store, Dollar Tree. You get a whole thing of them for 99 cents. And, I just started to fill in the back section there and on the top. And you'll see that, it starts to really come together. I wanted to break it up a little bit so the top pieces didn't get painted the same color as the sides. And I think that it worked out really well because, thinking about it back in the day, like they would have used a few different things when they put their trucks together, right? And being that this is a bootlegger, it really would have been used and abused. So those top pieces might have got changed out at one point in time. So at this point, I glue the axles on. Everything's looking great as far as I'm concerned. I left a little bit of gap there so you could see that there was like moonshine in there, but it wouldn't be visible from ground level. Then, it's a process, right? So you sit down, you look at it. At this point, I'm like, maybe it's done almost. And then, the more you look at it, the more it needs something. So I filled in those lower panels with another couple pieces of wood. Made sure that the wheels were clear, just to give it that depth that it needs, because the more blank spots you have on your car, the less it's appealing. The more you fill in, the more character it has, the more detail it has, the more it strikes the eye, right? So I started looking through my bits box and I found these little bits that I got here. The little compressor came from the local game shop, 10-cent bit, and in a random box, and I was like, this thing is gonna work out really well. So I had that little bull bar, decided to make that one of the bumpers, and took 2 toothpicks and made the front bumper with that other piece of metal. And then I just added these little sticks in the back to give it a little bit more depth, right? What is a Gaslands car without weapons? I had these rockets that came off a little remote control helicopter, and I was like, what? These are the perfect size. I'm going to make them work. So I painted up the compressor with a flat black, dry brushed it with lead belcher, hit the little copper pipe there with a Bic intensity marker, and then dry brushed the back with the back bumper with the lead belcher and hit it with a Rise of Rust to give it a little bit of, age on it. Same thing with the front bumper here. And then I had these little owl bits, and I was like, what? This and the compressor are going to be the centerpieces of this truck. that's what's going to describe who it is, where it goes, what it does, right? So that's how the name came along of the Night Owl. You know, this is a bootlegger. He runs his shine at night through the woods, through the mud. So he broke out the Sterling Battlemire and just went crazy with it. Like, you know, this thing is it doesn't care. It's going to where it's got to go. It's going to make it sail. It's going to drop it off. It's going to get back, and we don't need a hose, you know? At that point, I don't know if they had a hose. So that's where I just start throwing this dirt on there. Sterling Battlemire, as I mentioned in a previous video, is a Games Workshop paint. Very thick, very muddy, very, very grimy looking. And you got to be careful how you use it, because you can destroy a project with this if you put it in the wrong place. I know that I could have did more weathering on the wood to make it look a little bit better, a little bit more aged. But, you know, the deadline was coming up, and I liked how it looked. So I was like, you know what, this is how it's going to end up, and this is it. You know, this is the finished product, basically, as far as the back section went. So I put that owl on there, and really got the mud up into the fender wells, you know, like, you know, this thing is collecting a lot. And I had to do something with the rockets, so I primed them black. I hit them with a silver Sharpie, and then took some red paint and just did a little bit of details on it. I had head pins and little jewelry tubes. So I just primed them up. I put the head pin through the hole that was in the rockets already, glued it to the tube, glued it to the side, and now it's armed and ready to go. I feel bad for whatever gets in the way of this thing as it's trying to make its run, right? So what is a bootlegger without a hitch? That's the other thing that I was thinking. So that's why that bull bar became the rear bumper there. So that's basically the build in a nutshell. This is the car that we started with. It's the Hot Wheels Gotta Go casting, the toilet bowl, if you want to call it, which is a pretty cool looking thing, you know. And this is where we ended up. I think that we made it a little bit cooler, especially for the theme of a bootlegger for the Gaslands UK Car of the Month February edition of 2021. I know that it could be a little bit better. You know, I could have did a little more work on it, but I think for what it is, I think it turned out pretty well. You know, it looks mean. It's got that night owl look, like it's ready to go at night, and it's got some rockets, which who doesn't like rockets, you know? So I think that overall we did a good job in capturing the vision that we had in the beginning for making that old school tuned kind of cab really work out into a bootlegger car, and ready for the tabletop to play some Gaslands. So that's that, guys. I got a lot of things coming up real quick in this weekend. We're at 181 subscribers in just under a month. So thank you very much for everyone who's supporting this channel. And when we hit 200, hopefully it's before March 13th, before I give away my 100 sub car, we're going to do another giveaway. So like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you very much for watching.